Hey, everybody. Larry, Fort Worth Memories Museum and Group. It is Tuesday. It's 10 a.m. It's Hometown Heroes and Rick and Mary. Y'all have a special guest.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
It's a pretty day.
It's a pretty day with a little rain.
That's right.
We got a special guest today. This is Sharold Ferris, Dr. Sharold Ferris. So
That's correct. Yeah.
Sheryl's a roll call member, Army veteran, Navy veteran, and a veteran of the Sheriff's Department in Tarrant County, Texas. So,
And a very long time member of Roll Call. You guys have been coming since, and I'm looking this way because his wonderful wife, who's always with him at the luncheons, is here too. You guys have been coming for how many years?
Oh gosh, it's been 5-6 years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, every month can count on him being there. Yeah.
and then you go to the breakfast that Bethany does over
Cafe
at
Republic.
Cafe Republic. So
The only reason I do that is just to aggravate her.
Yeah, so Bethany started that. I think it's the second Tuesday of each month at Cafe Republic. And it's a small group right now. I'm sure that as more people get to know about it, it'll grow.
There's been a turnover. I mean, there's been regulars that come in, but then there's been a shift where new ones come in, and they're just finding it out.
it looks like from the pictures you have a good group there.
Yeah, I keep throwing roll call in there though. So
and it's neat because most of the people that are going are roll call folks too. That's just speaks to how important it is that we get together as often as we can for that camaraderie, right? So that's a really important thing. And the other thing that they do is they pick a charity each month, and $5 per person that goes to that charity. So that's kind of a new and unique twist on the Veterans Breakfast.
I found interesting. We went to a nursing home with them, and to show honor to some of the vets that are tied up in there. Pretty heartwarming when you talk to those guys and they bow their head and start crying. You know you're with them. And,
And Bethany, and for folks that are watching that don't know who Bethany is that we're talking about, Bethany Harrell, she's with Alpha Omega, formerly known as Envoy Hospice, but Alpha Omega Hospice is who Bethany works for, and they support that breakfast.
Yes.
And they're how they get the donations for each person. And so Bethany has a crew of veterans who are volunteers that go and just do social visits with the veterans under hospice care. Now, my father-in-law is not a veteran, but he's under there. He just a couple of weeks ago went under hospice care with Alpha Omega. And they've been amazing, absolutely amazing, helping him as he's getting, to the last few months.
How's he doing?
What's life? Well, they said yesterday that maybe up to 3 months, but the nurse that comes and takes care of him knows how to handle Charlie, and that's a whole other challenge in itself. But she knows how to handle him, and he has just been overwhelmed, and my husband's been overwhelmed by how amazing they are. But he's since he got here the end of February, he's deteriorated. So the Parkinson's takes its toll on you, and no matter your age, it's a horrible disease. So it's great that you guys are able to do that and with the Veterans Breakfast Club, because that really is a connection to that hospice that serves a lot of veterans transitioning.
But just to get a couple words out of them, and just to hold her hand, that's, you get a lot of feeling from that.
Yeah.
So very important to do that.
Well, sure. Tell us about you. Where'd you come from and how'd you get here?
Well, between Oklahoma and Michigan, I really grew up in Michigan. My family had a slaughterhouse business, so my younger years I spent cleaning the barn and working the slaughterhouse, and I was able to become a finished meat cutter because my dad was a teacher. But I was a nobody. I mean, I really wasn't a studious individual in school. school just didn't mean anything to me, especially in high school. It was to go to class and sit there and listen and yada, yada, yada. But my grades reflected that because I knew I was going to be drafted. I knew that was coming. So I'm going to go over there and die. It didn't matter. It was going to be what I had to do. But I come out of a large family. There's 6 boys and 6 girls.
When you lived in Oklahoma, where'd you live?
Up in a Bosque area.
Okay.
And you talk about poverty. They just don't have anything. They're always scraping to get together. Most people don't realize that. And me being able to live through that and see how that all works and being able to be blessed with the capabilities that I found out that I have in regards to education, because I didn't think I was worth that. When I come home from the Army, though, it was a different world. I didn't fit. I was hated. I didn't like the feeling. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to. It was just one of those things where you don't belong here. And I really thought suicide a couple times, but I didn't do that. I figured out how I could do this different, and I went and I enlisted in the Navy. And in the Navy, it was a whole different ballgame, totally different from what the Army is. The Army basic training is one thing, and the Navy is okay. I mean, they teach you how to swim, maybe, but I already had a knot tying. I already had range time. I already had more time than what most of those guys had. But got out of the Navy, and I was picked to go to parachute rigger school. All this time, my family's at home. I get maybe a letter once every 6 months. Nothing, nothing real specific. Pretty much on my own, but in the Navy, I found a new home. I found new buddies. I found a purpose, and working in life support, working in the field where I know I'm going to save lives. Anything that I touch is critical for that person. So I was very in tune with what I was doing on that arena. I think I became very good with what I did. And I got sent to several different commands in the track of my education. I wasn't really good on advancement. I mean, that's not what really took my interest. I didn't want to wear a rank. I wasn't destined for that. That's not where I wanted to go. But several commands. I was in a train command in Florida. We had a lot of experience with younger pilots. They were brand new out of school, out of Annapolis. And these guys had no idea what experience that I had. And I'm coming in there, and they're my age. They come in there with attitude. And we always had some adjustments that I'm very subtle on doing. And
that was in Pensacola.
That was north of Pensacola. It was an outlying field. It was a big air base up there. It was called Whiting Field. They fell under the cognizance of Pensacola, but in Whiting Field, they're their own unit, their own government thing, kind of. But while I was there, I got into a tiff with the Marine. They used to be the gate guards, and I did a part-time job cutting meat. Well, I come in after work, and of course it's 9 o'clock at night, and I had a special leather case made for my knives, my steak knives and boning knives. And this kid reaches in across me, and he puts his armpit in my face and grabs those and takes that pouch and slaps it. It was a Volkswagen. Slaps it up on the roof of that car. Now there's rivets in there. I didn't like that. I come out of that car, and he tried to put me back, and we went at it. I knocked him right square down. It wasn't but 2 seconds, and my nose was plowing a furrow because there's 2 other Marines out there on me, and I got it handed to me. I had to go to office hours and talk to the old man, and he said, "Look, so we don't strike another military guy. We don't do that.
Not on duty anyway.
Not on duty. No."
The Marines and Navy, I think they like to have some off-post interaction.
Yeah.
There's a time for everything, but and I found I like the Marines. These guys are tough. And I was always a quiet guy, but if it comes right down to it, then I'm going to have to get tough too. But all the time that I was in the military, and I went from Whiting Field out of T-28s, propeller jobs. That was the stay down there was an interesting stay because at that time, marijuana was a big thing in the military. People were using it all the time. And this co-worker that I was with, he said, I can run through that propeller. The bird was on high power turning up. Well, when it's turning up so fast, you can actually see the blades. You can see it. He said, I can run through that. I said, no, don't do that. Well, he tried to.
Oh no.
And what an experience. It was just and that was it. Legs were standing for a minute and it went over. But so those are the things that you go along with what you see in country, and stupid is as stupid does kind of thing. Well, I had my turn on the spin cart. It was an O2 cart. We were out there refilling the oxygen. It was all done systematically with a 6-bottle spin cart where you use the cascade system. And it was my turn to get out of the truck and go hook up to the plane. And another friend of mine was working together, and I just left the truck and was hooking up, and all of a sudden this explosion took place in the truck. And he stepped out and he was totally in shock. He was burnt from like his waist up. The skin was just hanging off his arms. And of course, I'm going, we got to get this guy some help. I mean, he was in a bad way. Whatever that was or whatever caused it, it could have killed him. It didn't, but he was hurt. That was really the end of his career, because once he went to sick bay, I never seen him again. But I know that he was hurt, and what a deal. But when I left Pensacola, I went to F8s. So now I'm in the jet platform, and it's a whole different parachute configuration. There are 23 different parachutes is what they had at one time. And now they're down to where I think they got 6, and they have a shelf life of a pack time is in service 5 years, and shelf life is 8 years. Where you pack a parachute, and you don't have to do anything for 5 years. Ours was every 30 days. Every 30 days you had to repack. But they're saying it's wearing out the materials, costing more to do it, it's costing man hours. So they come up with a way that it could do it and make it last for a longer time. But when I was on an F8 unit, we were deployed out of Alameda, California. And Alameda was a sick city, still is sick. But when we pulled away from there, and I can still see that flag on the base where, this is home and you're leaving. You're going.
That was your first time to leave,
Boy,
wasn't it?
yeah, like that. To pull away where you could actually watch the whole event take place, and you're leaving. It's not like flying. You get an airplane, you just fly and go. Oh well, you land and you're there. But anyway, seas were pretty calm. We got over there on Yankee unit, and it started. I mean, they were doing bomb runs like around the clock, 24 hours a day. And our job, everybody had to do the same kind of work. We loaded bombs on the flight deck by hand. The Air Force has got these little carts where they can put the bombs on there, raise them up, and they're hooked. We had to do it the hard way. So there's 2 men on the front of the bomb, 2 men on the aft of the bomb. And they got this hump rod. You got all of them together, 1, 2, 3, pick it up, and you hook that sucker up on there. The guy that was behind me, he slipped on the deck. When he did, I took the load, and that's where I got my back hurt. And ever since then, my back is crooked. It shifted to the left and to the forward from that bomb. Well, now I'm getting benefits from all that now, but still, my left leg goes to sleep. But you load that stuff on that jet. And when they come back, it's not there. So you know that the message was sent when it left. But you've seen that picture of that crash on the flight deck where that A4 hit the round down and he just blew up. And when he blew up, he tipped this way. Now, I'm ahead of the guy that's in the picture running. We're both running to get away from that fire. You can feel the heat of that fire singe the hair on the back of your neck. And I look over and I seen a pilot. He was riding it out. He was dead in the doornail. It hit the angle deck, and you know what? We never slowed down. Never slowed down. Nothing.
What'd you do with that aircraft? Did you push it
No,
off?
it went off on its own. It had enough. It had enough energy where it went off on its own. No, it didn't grab a wire. It went down like that. But,
And this was during the Vietnam War.
yeah, that was my second go around. That's
Yeah.
it right there.
Isn't that crazy?
See that guy running? That's not me. I'm ahead of him.
Yeah, you
So-
made sure to get the heck out of Dodge.
I could run. 'Cause when I was in the Army, I'd run 5 miles a day just for fun. I mean, I could run. But keep in mind, my academics weren't, I was never really high on the academic level. And I managed to make rank, and it was based on the ability of me to do my job and the way that I did my job. I mean, every little tie had to be just so. I mean, I couldn't do it halfway. It had to be
Especially
correct.
on parachute rigging and
Yes.
loading those armaments.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to be pretty exact.
Yeah, those are some things that you don't want to mess up. Right.
You have to be specific.
Because I think on that Forrestal, there was some kind of mess up someplace on that missile that shot out. And
They had the pins out too early. That was
Yeah.
a heat-seeking missile. And it had inadvertently fired because of the exhaust of another jet to come around in front of it. They had prematurely pulled the pins. Now, a training lesson. So you don't do that. You don't do it until you're right up there on the launch. You pull the pins and you get to go, and then you can take off. I mean, I watch these guys in the Air Force here where I love to see them take off tandem like that. I mean, I just love to see that. And, I can sit there and watch them hour after hour after hour. But when you're involved on the ship, there's so many different variables that come into play. If you're out there at night during night ops, if you're in weather, it doesn't matter. You still have a mission. You get a call, you're still flying. You're still going to go. And those conditions put a lot of questions in your mind as to what is the possibility. I mean, I had my turn. We had pulled off the line. We pulled off for a little R&R because we get out there and burn a steak and have a little rest and relaxation. But we lost my train of thought. We had pulled off the line. We had our steaks and we were going back in. And on the way back in, we started getting some heavy seas. Well, somebody has to take the watch, and it was my turn because I was an E4. I was just a one striper. So they tie a lifeline off on you and they give you a radio and a flashlight. Of course, your flotation gear is on. And you go out there and you shake every tie down that's on them jets. Every single one. You get out there and you're swimming and then you're not swimming. And then you're swimming and then you're not swimming. But I just prayed to the good Lord above. I said, just watch after me because I'm at your mercy.
so that's a big aircraft carrier,
It's a big
but those seas can get pretty rough, can't they?
It's crazy because you see that in like movies and stuff, and you just can't.
Imagine.
You can't imagine what it really feels like, though,
Yeah.
to actually be in that situation where that water is just hitting you, and now you're taking all that force and
get knocked down.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going, what am I doing out here? I was told to come out here. So me being a good sailor or being a good soldier, you follow your marching orders and you go do
Right.
what you're told to do. Well, there was only one time I caught that watch. Never caught it again. But I caught a lot of times quarterdeck watch. You pull into port where they give you a 45 and You have to exchange and do the download and upload and yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, and you're standing there and you're on the quarterdeck. I made a mistake and fell asleep standing up.
Oh my.
I was exhausted. When that JL come up there and kicked me in the ankle, I screamed and just, oh my gosh, and what a shock. But you know what?
Did you get in trouble?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sleeping on duty, standing up.
Yeah. Sleeping on duty will still today get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Just trust me. When we deployed in 16, we had an airman at the gate fell asleep on duty, and the commander had a unique way of imposing a little bit of punishment on him to make sure he never did that again. Yeah.
Well, I caught EMI, and my task was I had to be in the quarters or be in the spaces and make coffee for the chief. Had to be there at 5:30. Everybody else would show up at 7. And I make coffee and clean up the spaces and make sure everything's ready for the chief. And, and then chief come in. That's the first thing he did, get a cup of coffee. I was supposed to do that for 2 weeks. Ended up 2 weeks wasn't long enough. He said, I like the way you make coffee. We're going to have you make coffee. I still want you to come in here. And I'm going, this is BS. So at that time, we used a surgical soap called Physax.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, we had that.
And you would mix it up and you would clean the O2 mask when the pilots come through. They might yak in it or whatever. But it was our job to clean it up. So we would clean that up. I took a cap full of that Physax and dumped it in that coffee pot. The chief come in there and got him a cup of coffee. He went back in his office, sat down and drank it. 15 minutes later, he said, I got to go. I mean, and he had a wet rear end. I'm going, whoops, that stuff does work.
Oh my.
I didn't have to make coffee after that.
The first time I made coffee in the orderly room, I knew nothing about it. We had one of those 30 cup percolators, and it had that silver looking bowl up the
basket
top,
up at the top.
30 up here. I fill it up. Well, I don't think that it really wanted it filled up like that because it was pretty stout, and they poured it out and made it and showed me, you don't have to put that much coffee in there. So
yeah, when you don't drink coffee, you don't know. That's one of the things I always struggled with because I've never drank coffee, and people go, "Are you going to make some coffee?" Yeah, but
you don't know if it's good or bad.
You probably don't want me to.
Keep in mind, I've already had experience dealing with stuff like this. I'll give you a little flashback going back to the Navy boot camp. Now, I've been through boot camp once already. I've been through the best. So they had, in the Navy, they give you what they call a service week. So in that service week, you're given tasks with mowing the yard, washing windows, or dumping trash, or doing something. My job was sent to the galley. So the first job I get was cracking eggs. Okay, so I'm cracking eggs. Now I'm an E nothing at that time. The second class comes up there, the 2-striper, and he says, you're not, just he was going off, cracking them fast enough. I took 2 flats of eggs, looked him right square in the face, and slammed them together and threw the whole mess in the kettle. I said, is that fast enough? I got fired from that job. Okay, so the next job I got was cleaning these big cookers, these stainless steel 60-gallon cookers. He said, I want all these clean. I went, okay. So he leaves. First one I go to is full of coffee. Top full of blood. And he comes back and he's having a stroke. He is so wound up, he's just vibrating because I dumped all the coffee. What are you doing? I said, you told me to clean them. You didn't tell me where to start. You just clean them. Got fired from that job.
They didn't ask you back to the galley.
Oh, well, no. I got put in the meat department. That's where I got put.
But you already,
which was a perfect fit.
Hey, this is good.
You grew up
Yeah.
slaughtering.
I'm good with this.
But you went to Army basic and then still had to go to Navy basic?
Yes. Because there's 2 different elements there.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of different stuff that Navy does that the Army doesn't do. So
I'll be darned.
and it's still a yes or no, sir. I mean, it's all
Right. The
protocols
discipline
also.
part, all that's
Yeah.
still the same.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've been through all that, so the nonsense, I could pick the nonsense out. I mean, there's no reason for all this. I mean, if I'm not doing it fast, pick up a couple of eggs and you crack something. That's the kind of guy I was. Don't stand there watching me, help me. We're all got to get this together, you know. Then, hey, you're not sweeping the deck fast enough. Well, here, you show me how to do it. I'll do it the way
We've
you
been
want me
there and
to.
know how that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Everybody at this table been through basic training.
it's amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing.
Oh.
Some of the things that happen and some of the things that I see, you know, is in the first training command I was in, there was a chief. He said, I want you to sit right here. We'll be right back. I said, okay. So I'm sitting there, phone rings. I'm like, hello? This guy in the other end starts screaming at me. And he goes, who is this? And I said, well, who is this? He goes, it's Lieutenant Commander Butterball. And he's still screaming. I just hang up the phone. 2 seconds later, this big old wasted fat guy comes down there, sweat dripping out from him. And I go, look like crap in the uniform. And he started screaming at. I looked at his name tag, and it was Butterball.
Butterball.
No.
He said, did you answer that phone? I said, no, sir, I just got here. I'm not going to take this. So I just got here.
That's funny.
Man, this guy, he was so upset. He was talking to himself when he walked back out of there. And I never seen him again. But hey, you know what? It's okay. We're good. A lot of things that it may have been devious, but when they crossed the sensible wire, somebody's going to have a grounding in there. Now, keep in mind, you know, I wasn't the smartest cupcake in a tray. I mean, I certainly didn't have all that, but I had common sense, and I wasn't afraid to work. I didn't care what the task was. You know, you want me to paint? I'll paint. You want me to do this? I'll do that. I mean, it didn't matter. I could work. But so anyway, I leave. I get ready to leave that F8 squadron, and I go into a P3 unit, subchasers. And there's hundreds of aircrew. And these enlisted aircrew think they're...
And this is still on a carrier?
No, this was
Ground?
after carrier duty.
Okay.
Ground, stateside stuff. These guys think they're commissioned officers. And I'm going, no, don't come in here doing that because that's not going to go.
That's so typical of enlisted aircrew.
Yeah.
In any branch.
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
They think they're wearing the officer's rank.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly did hold protocol to the rank. I certainly did. I mean, I may not like the guy in the uniform, but I will salute that uniform. I'll salute that insignia until you cross the line. And then we're going to have heavy seas. We were going to deploy, and this XO come in there with his sea bag and threw it up on my work table. Now, I got gear up there I'm trying to inspect. Threw that up under. He says, I want you to make sure that gets on the transport. I didn't say a word. When he walked out, I took that sea bag, threw it out in the hangar, and I finished doing what I'm doing. Now we get ready to leave. We leave. We get to where we're going. He comes to me and he says, where's my gear? I said, what gear? He says, my bag of clothes. I said, well, where'd you put them? He said, you didn't put them on the airplane? I said, they're not my clothes. They're your clothes. I got to take care of my own stuff. Where's my gear? I said, it might be back home. I don't know where it's at. Where'd you put it? Oh, that didn't settle well. But he went up and talked to the old man. The old man says, well, gotta make sense. It's your stuff. Not for him to babysit.
Where was that at in California?
Yeah. California's a different world. Sometimes you get them fruitcakes in there and you go, how in the world did you ever get past the front gate? Keep in mind now, at this time, I'm pushing second class. I get to be an E5. I did 3 different units in P3s. I did 2 in California, 1 in Chicago. Now, the one in Chicago was interesting. We had Liberty and went downtown. Of course, the Windy City is exactly what it is. And you're wearing that white uniform and the cover takes off because of the wind.
Yeah, it is windy along the lake. Yeah.
And I mean, it's gone. And this Lieutenant JG comes out of the bar and he comes up and starts screaming at me because I'm not wearing my cover. And he wants to know where my cover is. About the same time, the wind caught his, and I said, mine's in the same place yours is.
Yeah, if you don't know that about the way the wind whips, you're down, especially you're down there along the lake shore, Michigan
Yes.
Avenue, or any of that.
Yeah.
The way that wind will whip through there, it'll catch you.
Cowboy hats probably don't last long.
No.
No.
If you want to keep a hat, you better make sure it's on there really good and snug, or maybe have something to hold it.
But I was in Chicago and I was stuck at E5, so I'm going to find some way to move to get more rank. So I'm getting a better payday because I got a family and want to get a better payday. So I switched MOS and I went into recruiting. So I went to school. They sent me to New Orleans. I come back, hit the deck, and I'm as a recruiter. I always made goal or exceeded goal. Out of 2,700 recruiters in the country, I finished out number 3. Had I been number 1, I'd have been selected for advancement, just automatic, but I didn't make number 1. But I did very well with what I did there.
You did that for a while, didn't you?
6.5 years.
Okay.
What changed that was we were at the end of the fiscal year, and the CEO come and he says, "You're working a guy." He said, "If we pick this guy up, we'll be 100% on every program we got." And I'm going, "His physical expired 2 days ago. I can't do that." He goes, if you fix it, so we'll back you up." I'm going, I don't have the authority to fix that. He looks me dead in the eye and he says, "Your intestinal fortitude is too strong." And I'm going, if that's the case, then I probably need to find another job because this is not working. And my next 6 months in that command was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It got to the point where the E8, I took a baby monitor and taped it up under his desk. So when he got a phone call, I could listen to his phone call. 9 times out of 10, they were talking about me. Because I hear that E8 saying, "I don't know how he knows. I don't know how he knows ahead of time, but he does. He knows." And I'm listening. I'm going to keep my mouth shut and shut it off. And yes, I did. I know that could have been Leavenworth. But you know what? I'm going to be ahead of the game here. I'm leaving there as a second class. I said, "You guys can send me as far away from here as possible." They said, "Okay." So I got sent to California Combat Search and Rescue Unit that's going to Iraq. So I went from Chicago to California, overseas again. So, it was that quick. My wife's sitting there. We got a young son, and, I'm gone. I'm doing my thing.
That was in the first Gulf War?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're busy combat search and rescue. These guys are out there, flight ops. I got to ride in them helicopters. I always wanted to fly one, but I got to ride in them. So, but
I was in a medevac unit, and one time we let the co-pilot out, and I got up in the front seat and started flying, and the pilot said, "Go ahead and take the stick." I said, "I don't know how." He said, "You don't have any stick time?" "No, sir, I don't have any stick time." So he wanted me to fly it, but I didn't want to.
You didn't want to crash it.
they
Yeah.
want to put it in the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back to whenever you were in the P3s. Did you do any carrier landings or takeoffs?
No, not on the P3. They're too big for a carrier.
Okay, but
I mean, I imagine.
did you
with a
do
super-
some when you were on the carrier? Did you take off?
One time in a sub, we bingoed back in country. We had a jet go down where they took a crew, went back in country. So we went into Da Nang, and of course I'm going, here I am back again. It's just the minute we hit the deck, we got off the airplane's taking off, and this thing's still rolling. Get off the plane, it's taking off. It all come back to me. Mortar attack. I mean, just we're headed for the bunker. And
Get out of there quick.
yeah, I mean, you talk about the flashbacks, how they come back and they just, well, here we go.
So then you went to Iraq, search and rescue with helicopters.
Yes.
What kind of helicopters were they?
They were HH-60s.
Okay.
And I always wanted to shoot the door gun, but I couldn't get up there. But, yeah. Anyway, that was an experience there. And then I went from that unit, I went to intermediate maintenance. I'm trying to wiggle around to where I can get myself, moved up. So I'm working intermediate maintenance, and I disclosed a lot of problems that were going on because we had some inferior equipment in there. I'm a nosy guy. I want to see, what we got here. And I'm finding all this stuff that we're not supposed to have. So I went over and talked to the W04, and while I'm waiting, they said, "You don't want to talk to him." I said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "No, you don't. This guy, he'll make you cry." He was crusty. That guy was crusty. So I walk in there, of course, slams his stuff. "What do you want?" Kind of thing. And so I started telling him what's going on. He goes, "Oh, bullshit." He said, "I've been here for 8 years and that's not going on." I said, "Sir, I can prove it to you." He said, "Well, bring me the proof." So I did. Got all of my numbers together and went back over there and I showed him this. He went, "I had no idea." So whoever was running the intermediate maintenance level was not doing their job. Now I'm just a little bitty old greenhorn E5. I'm a know-nothing person, and this is top-level stuff, top-tier stuff. You're supposed to know that stuff, but they weren't doing their business. Well, that warrant officer had some butts, so it ended up where I wasn't well liked. I mean, because we got to fix this. This is not right. This is not working. And by golly, we did. I went in there to see that warrant officer on several different occasions, and he always appreciated me coming in there because he knew that my detail was no mess around. I knew what I was talking about. I carried the information and legitimized it, so he liked what I did. But here's what happened: I got called upon to take the whole division and standing up, get ready for quarters. Well, okay, so I get out in front of everybody and I have them fall in and I have them cover down and get ready to go. And this little pissant ensign comes up there and starts screaming at me because I didn't have them fall in fast enough. He says, "You're going to put them at attention, put them at parade rest, put them at ease, and then you're going to have them fall in again." Oh, "Yes, sir." So I'm standing there listening to this guy get stupid. And I did exactly what he ordered me to do. This W04 is over here watching all this. So after we have quarters, I mean, this is a big division we're in front of. He comes over there and says, "Hey, what was that all about?" I said, "I have no idea. But this is what he told me." He goes, "Really? Okay." He had words with that ensign. And that ensign come back to me and he says, "And I am not going to apologize to you." I said, "Sir, you don't have to. Just a minute." Picked up the phone. I called that warrant officer and I told him what he said. He said, "Put him on the phone." So I give him the phone. He went, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." He goes, "I got to go." Hangs the phone up and he left. You know what? I never seen that guy. Was it the right thing to do? Are you swimming upstream? I'm going, how much of that can a person take? How much can you do? So anyway, after all this nonsense I did in the military and trying to get myself up, I finally made E6. And that's when I got selected to get into this anti-terrorist group. The Master Chief knew what I would do and how I would do it. So now I'm out of the survival equipment stuff. I'm in the law enforcement field. I go to the academy, do all the stuff, and I'm going. I finished out of there with honors. I mean, I did well. It was easy. For me, it was easy. Just picked it right up. And I come back and I did the Master Chief. Everything he wanted done, I did. If he asked for something, I need people for this, we got it. You know, it was just that way for 4 years. So
Is that when you came here?
I was picked from California to come here. So, but after that, you know, I'm getting older. I'm an old guy, really, and I'm out there running these kids in the dirt. You know, I'm in my 53, and I'm out there running these kids in the dirt. They're going, "How do you do that?" I'm going, "You got better shape than I do. You guys need to run. I mean, what if you got to go from one post to another?"
Skipper could probably run. He's a runner.
Yes, he is.
Good Hayako, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. He likes when they do the runs on base. He's always trying to get me to come out and do them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now I can't hardly run around the block. My back is so much, but
I know how that is.
yeah. So with all those ups and downs, then I finally get to the point where I'm going to retire. So I look back on all those experiences, and I got tons of pictures. Not much out of the Army because that stuff has been destroyed. When I come home, I just had a real bad taste in who I was, and I didn't want to affiliate with that. This has got to go away. It's got to be a different time in life. I've got to change my mindset, my thought process. So I come out of there and I go to work for Tarrant County. I go to their academy and I come out and I'm seeing these sergeants and
That's
people,
with the sheriff's department.
sheriff's department. I'm seeing these guys advancing and I'm going, "How's come you're moving up the chain so quick?" "Well, I got an education." So I tell my wife, I said, "Well, I'm going to go back to college." I mean, I had some junior college stuff, but not enough for anything. So I started going back to school. And with her help, God love her soul, she's patient to help me out in grammar checks and all this other stuff. And I stumbled through the beginning years of this, and then where I got to be where I got my first bachelor's degree in criminal justice, because that was going to align with the sheriff's department. Well, that wasn't enough. So I went back to school and I got a master's degree in criminal justice. And I'm thinking, why am I wasting time here with the sheriff's department? What? Because I'm Native American. I'm going, I could go to work with the Indian Gaming Commission and be a white collar crime investigator. So I need to take a financial course. So I got a master's degree in finance, got a master's degree in criminal justice, and I'm still being held back in the sheriff's department. That was under D. Anderson's watch. And I'm going, this is just not making it. And I told my wife, I said, "Well, I'm pretty much done with school." She said, "Good, because well,
because it's hard on the whole family.
It was
It's not just hard on the
difficult.
person going to school.
was.
Right.
But I started working on my doctorates, and I just come to find out where I had the academic skills to do this and to master whatever I had to come my way. Because I knew how to do the research. I knew how to apply it. I knew how to put all this stuff together in the presentation. And even in my dissertation, I mean, I wrote, rewrite. And, but I went through all the pains. She stayed right there alongside of me. We did. I got that Ph.D. Went in and I showed, that time it was Bill Wayburn. He went, "Are you kidding me?" I went, "Nope." I said, "I want to move up." He said, "Well, I don't have room for you right now." I said, "Okay, well, if you get room, I'll move up." And anyway, that's where I had all the groundwork laid.
You never did go
I never
work for
got
the
up
gaming commission, though.
Never got to Obama is the one who changed that. The job that I was striking for was up in Tulsa. Now, my wife, she likes to go and play the slots. She can sit there for hours and penny slots. I go in there and I go, I can't see myself even putting a quarter in there and saying goodbye. I just can't do that. But she'll sit there. I'm going, this will work out great because I can be the guy go knock on the back door and say, let me see your books. And she can go down there and keep busy while we're doing it. This would have been working in 5 different states around Oklahoma. Yes, that would have been just a thing. Obama says we don't need that job. That job went away.
Mm.
So I'm sitting here with all this education, all this experience, and I'm going, duh. But the thing I realized is now that I have it, nobody can take that away. I have it. It's mine. I can share if I choose. But it doesn't make me any smarter than the next guy. It just makes me, I know where to go look for stuff. And I seen a little article about Einstein. He said, isn't that I know everything, it's that I know where to go find it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Right.
can always go
It's like Henry Ford, I
Yeah.
think they had a lawsuit. He had a lawsuit because they said that, he was dumb or something. He said, I don't have to know. All I got to do is pick up the phone.
Right. You
People
need to
work
know
for
who
me
to
that can
call.
answer the
Exactly.
questions.
You should always surround yourself with people who are strong where you are weak. If you are a good leader.
Somebody that had tough time in high school, didn't apply yourself in high school.
Yeah.
Gets out and 40 years later, come back
Just-
with 2 master's degrees and a Ph.D. So,
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting is when you first started telling your story, and I know you didn't talk much about your Army time in Vietnam, but when you said when you were in school, you didn't see any reason to apply yourself because you knew what was going on in the world. You were going to get drafted. And then the expectation because of what you guys experienced, because at that time, what you were experiencing were these folks going in the Army. What was happening? What was it that you were seeing on the news that led you to feel so strongly that, I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to die?
Yeah. Well, it was that loss sense. You see these guys coming back and they had become street urchins, couldn't get a job.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking forward to trying to find a job.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would help them. There was no help available. They come back broken. I had issues. I had underlying issues that didn't leach out until later. I've been going to therapy. I still go to therapy.
Yeah.
But those underlying issues, and it's because of Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it's come forward, and there were some rocky roads there.
Yeah.
We had some problems.
And a lot of the younger generation doesn't understand, and I was barely probably old enough because I was born in 60. So I was old enough to see the pictures on the news and to see the stories coming out in the papers and everything, and the pictures of the planes full of caskets draped with American flags, and to see the way the men were treated as they came home. But a lot of the young people today don't understand that. They think that the way the military is treated today is the way it's always been. But people like you you went for your country and you went to Vietnam and you did what your country asked of you. And then when you came home, added to your battle scars were the scars from the people that live right here in your own country.
I hated you.
yeah, because we had all the national protests all the time. I mean, not just walking down the streets with a sign, but I mean, some bad clashes with the authorities.
They
It
would
was
kick you, or
terrible.
they would try to push you down. I mean, and if you throw down on them, the Army gives you the skills to defend yourself, and you can take their life support system away quick. Now, if you do that, I'm going to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
This person can do whatever he wants to do, but I'm the one that's going to go to jail. So I had to do something different. I had to move away from that,
Right.
trying to get into a different mindset. I knew the dangers that I was having, but I didn't realize how this problem leached into me. And some of it was from the complications working in the sheriff's department, because you get into that element and you're constantly bombarded with negative. It's just negative,
Right.
negative. It's never positive. And putting up with that after the first 5 years, and things started going backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be depressing, because there's not a lot of positive stuff going on, at your job. So you're having to deal with all that negativity all the time. So
The worst part of all that is you get a guy who's selected to move up in the chain of command, and he does, and he's worthless. He's not performing his duties, but he expects me to perform my duties. Now, I had one of them come to me and he says, "Hey, dude," he says, "I know you've been in college." He says, "I need some help with a paper." He said, "I'm working on a degree and I need some help." I said, "You do? What is it?" He says, "I don't even know where to start." He said, "I need to have a five-page paper and I need to have it tomorrow." I said, "I don't know where to start." I said, "What's the subject?" So he told me. I brought it home to him, thinking that he's going to take my work and modify it to fit him. Oh,
He
heck,
just turned it in.
he just turned it in. He said, "Thanks, dude. I got an A on that." And I'm going, "Really?
Yeah.
You just took my work, plagiarized the crap out of it." I'm going, "You are such a cheap SOB."
Yeah.
I mean, I would call it like it was. I've seen worthless lieutenants in there, and they would start telling me this, this, and this. I'm going, "You know what? You're not even worth my spit." I wasn't well liked, but I could write a heck of a good report, because my reports, when they would go in front of the judge, they were going. It was very clear as to what happened. Every single detail was covered in that report. So she could, or he could read that report and know what this guy was doing. There was no question. I would turn them reports in. They would call me in the office. They said, "Oh, they're not going to understand this report. Let's modify this thing." I said, "No, that's my report. That's what I'm sending." Those judges would call back to the jail. This doesn't happen. They would call back to the jail and want to talk to me. And it would just piss off the chain of command, because they don't get the same consideration. Well, he's nobody. He doesn't have stripes. He's a nobody. But why is that judge calling him? Well, maybe I do know something. I wake up and smell the roses. It's time. If you let me, I will help you. I will teach you. I will show you. I will be glad to do that. Oh no, the pride is too thick. I got these lieutenant bars here and I know everything there is to know. Well, you need to tie your shoes. That's the kind of guy I was. And I wasn't, I was a non-team player is what I was. But I was more of a team player than they would ever be. I was first in line to help. If there was a scrape going on, I was first in line to help. It didn't matter. If that code 11 call came in, a code 11 is there's a fisticuff going on between inmate and officer. If that came in, you hear the location, I'm there. Because now it's us against them. And you have to straighten this out.
Yeah.
You cannot let it go. Because it festers a little bit and it goes and goes and goes, and you got a big problem. So I got called on the carpet one time because the group of people that I was watching, 24 inmates in a tank. And they're all talking about having a riot where they can take over a guard, take his keys, and have a riot and escape. And I had enough of that. I told the guy I was working with, I said, "Open that gate." He says, "You're going in there?" I went, "Yeah."
Somebody's got to.
"I'm not going there." He says, "You're nuts, dude." I said, "Open that gate." I walked in that room and I took my glasses off. I said, "Now there's 24 of you right now. I'm fixing to get my ass handed to me, but I'm going to take 6 of you before I go. Now, which 6 is it going to be?" Nobody would say it then. I said, "That's where you need to be. Knock this stuff off." I get called on a carpet because I went in the tank by myself and all that uprising. You're not going to hear more noise out of those guys. You know what? We didn't. When they come, said, "Don't mess with that old man. Don't go there with him. Don't do that."
You never
Something
know
about those
you
old
never
men.
know what a crazy old man might do, or a crazy old woman for that
That's
matter.
That's a fact.
For sure, that's true. You just weren't any good at the politicking part of the journey, because people don't realize, whether you like it or not, in the military and outside the military, there is a level of being a politician that you're going to have in order to be able to do kind of move up in certain areas. Now, there's some areas it's not as important, but other areas it is, that you have to be able to know when you need to do certain things. And I like to always think of it as being good at networking. knowing the right people to have in your corner so that when somebody did say you didn't do what you were supposed to do, I always had a good network. So when I had a supervisor, maybe that we didn't get along for whatever reason, that there was somebody up above him that knew my real work that was able to say, no, ain't buying it. I know better.
That's right.
And, that was my stance, even when I deployed in that joint, in the joint operation, when I was at CENTCOM Forward Headquarters, and I worked for an Army Lieutenant Colonel that we didn't always see eye to eye. And he made a couple of threats, and I said, people at home know my work. They know my reputation. You're not going to concern me. I'm going to do my job to the best of my abilities because I knew somebody had my back.
Yeah.
And that's
always
really,
good.
and that's really what it was about, is that doing my work well enough to make sure that I knew that somebody up above had my back enough to make sure that some other person down here couldn't disrupt what I was trying to get done. And that's always important.
Cheryl, it's time that we wrap it up. Our hour's just about expired. So
Okay.
thank you for being here. Thank you for
Absolutely.
your service to our country and to our county. And
Well, but wait, there's more.
I can imagine. Yeah. And we have a roll call this week.
This Friday.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
And we got, who's going to be there?
Jim Sharp is going to be our speaker, Korea War veteran. And, we don't have very many of those, and many of them don't really speak about their service too often. But they are considered the forgotten war, because how often do you hear about it? You hear, everyone wants to, let's get the Vietnam guys out. Oh, let's get the World War II guys out. It's like Korea never happened.
Yeah.
And they went through some horrible things, If
Yeah.
anybody's out there listening doesn't know much about the Korean War, just look up the Frozen Chosen. That in itself will tell you a whole bunch about Korea. But the Korean War, we don't hear much about it. So Jim Sharp is going to be our speaker. Right now, we've closed the RSVPs. We're almost at capacity. Yeah, I could probably fit a couple of more people in if somebody's really desperate. But I've got I'm at almost at our limit right now, and so that's this Friday. And then, of course, we're getting ready, as Larry's helping us and Rick's working some things, but we're getting ready for June for Dr. Eugene Richardson, Tuskegee Airmen.
I've been watching some documentaries about the Tuskegees.
Yeah, I have too.
There's a lot of stuff
Amazing
to talk
stuff.
about with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this week is this coming weekend's Memorial Day weekend. So
Mhm.
not just a time for picnics and family, but a
Right.
time to remember those fallen. So
Mhm.
Yep.
And there's a service at Mount Olivet Cemetery on Memorial
on
Day.
Monday.
Yep. And so the Navy skipper, who's been so incredibly supportive to us, will be out there. Him and Mayor Maddie Parker, and Don Graves is the honorary chairperson. So look up the details about that. Come out and, remember that Memorial Day is about remembering those that we have lost. It's not about those of us that served or currently serving. It's about those that have gone.
And Carry the Load, organization that really remembers the fallen. They start a month ago. They started
Right.
with these buses and doing these walks across the country.
Right.
And then next this coming Sunday, all these buses come in, all the people come in that's been coming across the country, and they have 2 days just remembering all the fallen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in Dallas. You can go to Carry the Load and find out more information about that. This Saturday, the Brotherhood for the Fallen,
Yep.
they have a car show, and it's going to be in Keller, right at Heritage Church of Christ, and that's Heritage Church Parkway. So you can go to the Brotherhood for the Fallen and get more information about that. And then June the 1st, Holidays and Heroes, and Frank Kent Cadillac and MMR or MWR. They're having a family softball night out at the base. So there, you can go to Holidays and Heroes and find out more about that. So
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
a lot of
So
stuff.
we'll have
and-
some more to talk about next week because Rex King and his
Donna
group
Snow.
they have a thing going on June 2nd. So we'll make sure to get that out there too. So if you're looking for something to do this week, this summer, we'll be able to give you lots of things that are going on, and you get to pick and choose what you want to do. But Rivershawn Park is where they do that carry the load. And if you've never gone out there, even just to go walk, even if you just walk through one time, you don't have to necessarily go walk around the clock like some do.
See the hundreds and hundreds
But-
of boards with different falling on.
I don't know how you do that and you're not just, I don't know how you can do it and even have any words as you walk that
And
path.
on the buses they have going across the country, they have different veterans and first responders that have fallen. And on one bus, Terry Burgess, his son Brian's pictures on there, and we have another Gold Star family and their sons on another bus. So I've seen pictures as they're coming across the country with those children on it. So
Yeah.
But Larry, you've got things going on.
Boxing in Cowtown, June
Okay, that's-
24th, 3
and-
weeks away, 4
Okay,
weeks.
we've got, and I know we're going to have a bigger crowd than we usually have there.
Yeah.
Got a lot of the old boxers and a lot of the newer
New,
boxers.
young boxers.
We'll kind of put the word out to all the gyms to send these young boxers
Sure.
there to be with these boxers that were the old guys. So and that guy-
Experienced.
That's
The
it.
old world champions.
Yeah.
I always say the first time we ever had Don Curry, we couldn't get him to say 2 words. Last time we had him, you couldn't shut him
I
up.
know.
He was saying, I was #1 world champion, you know. But that's the reason I put that event on, is for those guys to get back
Yeah.
together.
to get recognized for what they
Yeah.
what they
But
accomplished.
really, the camaraderie between themselves, that's the only time they see each other.
Yeah.
A bunch of them.
A lot of
So-
them were in the ring together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, against each other.
Against each other.
And bicycle drive
Is
it's
December 16th.
okay. It's time to start thinking about making some donations,
Yep.
giving bikes. And this week, where y'all going to eat lunch? You know,
I don't know yet.
not yet.
I've got till tomorrow to
That
decide.
chicken salad, chicken or what it was.
That was
good, huh?
It was real good. Never heard of it, but there's over 200 of them in 17 states, and they're going to add 400 more or something.
Must be doing something right.
So it's pretty good, pretty doggone good if you like chicken or pimento. That's about all they got.
And thank you for hosting us. And
Yes, sir.
Remember Classic Auto Detail down here on Rogers Road. There's going to be a lot of traffic starting
And the
tomorrow.
traffic, the streets open.
Streets open again.
And what event? What is this? 48 or 49?
This is 45.
45.
45. So we've just been almost a year at this. So
Getting there.
and the Colonial's going to be, I call it the Colonial. It's got some other name, but the golf tournament.
Schwab or
It's
what,
just 2 blocks from here, and
to walking distance.
they're going to have a big chalet there for the military. The
Mhm.
Pottingers are going to be hosting it, and it should be a good event. So, thank you, and
Thank
we
you
will,
all.
thank you for being here today,
Thank you.
and Julie, thank you for being back there. Thank you for
Guys,
all
thanks.
the support that you've given and helped in all education. And
Yeah.
She's been my anchor. 38 years of it.
Yeah. We all know we can't do it without
That's right.
that spouse supporting us.
well,
That's for
thank y'all,
sure.
thank y'all for joining us on Hometown Heroes, and we'll see you next.